It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Nick Greenfield, the CEO of Candid, an oral health care company focused on redefining the orthodontics category with the first ever clear aligner system geared toward telehealth-first care. In addition to founding Candid, Nick helped to start Redesign Health, a venture studio focused on building the next generation of healthcare companies, which has raised $250 million since inception and has 15 companies and counting in its portfolio that have all been ideated internally and launched from scratch. Prior to Candid, Nick was the COO at Paribus, acquired by Capital One, and one of the first employees at Lyft, where he helped launch 8 markets, starting with San Fran and moving on to Los Angeles, Seattle, Boston, and Washington, D.C. Nick also serves as an advisor to a number of startups across the technology landscape. Nick played intercollegiate ultimate frisbee in college at Stanford University, where he also happened to occasionally go to a few classes. Nick is joining the show today to discuss one of the most fascinating trends within the dental industry, clear aligners. But more importantly, he will detail how he and his team have positioned Candid as much more than just an aligner, but more of a doctor specialist-driven digital platform ecosystem. Candid has uniquely positioned itself under 3 core tenets to provide unprecedented accessibility, affordability, and clinical superiority. We need to get that last one changed to an A. We got A, accessibility, A, affordability. We got to think of a synonym for clinical superiority that starts with A, to both doctor and patients alike. Nick likes to say, we meet the patient and the doctor on their terms. Candid has a top-rated telehealth app in dental with 4.9 stars across over 1,000 reviews. Nick will also, I want him to talk about to demystify the perceptions of many as it relates to other clear aligners and DTC aligner offerings, but most of all, the Candid difference. The dental professional community is at the epicenter of everything. Candid does include Candid's clinical strategy when it comes to clear aligner therapy. Nick, first of all, it's just an honor to have you on the show. I mean, my God, to get a man of your pedigree to come on here and talk to my homies. Thank you so much. It kind of sounds like you're like Amazon, where it started off selling books with his name like Amazon, and a lot of people thought it should be books.com. Oh, now, what does Amazon not have its fingers in? I mean, they are into everything. And it sounds like you're kind of the same, that this clear aligner was just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of sauce underneath this iceberg.
Our view going in, and we started the company in 2017, is we wanted to build the largest global brand in oral health. And rather than starting with toothbrushes and toothpaste and dental floss, our view was, why don't we start in the fastest growing category, which is clear aligners? And so as we think about kind of the first 4 years of Candid and going into the next 4 years, we started with a single product through a single distribution channel. But we want to do over the next 4, 5, 10, 15, hopefully 100 years is continue to evolve what we're building from a company that can help you straighten your teeth as a patient, all the way to a company that can handle all of the other components that you're doing, but really starting and orienting ourselves around digital first.
And I agree. I've lectured in 50 countries, and I was amazed at the household name of Invisalign in Vietnam and Myanmar, and I mean, just everywhere you go, the clear aligners. You say it's the fastest growing segment. Do you have any number of that? And compared to what would number 2 be? Dental implants, obviously.
I think implants are probably the second there. But yet clear aligners, if you just look at the category growth in terms of consumer spend as well as professional revenue, and you look at a company like Invisalign, which today is almost worth $50 billion. When we started Candid, I think it was worth about $8 billion. And that's driven because of, growth of 25% year over year. Orthodontics as a category is huge, right? You're talking about nearly 12 million case starts globally in orthodontics every year. But if you think about how many people, and I've heard your show a number of times, you talk about just how many people out there need oral care, and you're talking about 12 million versus 7 billion plus people on the planet. There's opportunity both to grow the orthodontic category more broadly. There's opportunity to grow clear aligners as a percentage of total orthodontic case starts. And there's an opportunity as we think about pricing to go both downstream as well as upstream in the market, but really downstream to create more accessibility to allow more people to experience high quality orthodontic treatment. And so we think that we're still in maybe the first, perhaps we've entered the second inning of the clear aligner kind of evolution, where starting 20, 25 years ago, there was a ton of apprehension around clear aligners. Now, if you talk to orthodontists and many of the doctors that are in the Candid network, they're doing 20, 25, even 30% of the case starts that they're doing in their offices with clear aligners. And we believe that number is going to go to 50% plus over the next 5 years. And we think it can get to 100% or maybe 90, 95%. There are always going to be some cases that you probably, you can't start with a clear aligner if you look at offices globally over the course of the next 20 years.
So what has been the biggest challenge? I always think that, there's you got to look at the history of a country to understand it. But when Roosevelt, he thought that people wanted four things. He said, when they're injured on the job, they want workers' comp. Now that's a law. When you're done building your railroad, you can't leave them out in the middle of Utah. You got to give them unemployment until they get their next job. If they are too old to build a railroad, they're not going to go sit under and treat till they die. We'll give them an old age deal. And then they want health care. And my God, the doctors, starting with the American Medical Association, put a stop to that instantly. So then it'd be the next. It was actually Kennedy and Johnson. They got the foot in the door with Medicare just for over 65. But healthcare they don't like any changes, and it's their profession. And has the American Association of Orthodontists in St. Louis and other associations, has that been your largest challenge or not so much?
I think that there are definitely challenges when it comes to interfacing with various, regulatory bodies and working with or talking to the AAO or other large institutional groups. But I think the biggest challenge that we faced as Candid is over, 60,000 plus case starts that we've done as in our doctor network and with our partners. The biggest challenge there has come in figuring out what is it that Candid does better than anyone else. And what we figured out over those 60,000 plus cases is that we are doing a completely different type of orthodontic case start than what you would traditionally get in your practice, because the limitations that our doctors have had has made us excel in the things that nobody else would have had to do in their own practices. And I'll give you a few examples there. So number one, in terms of remote diagnostics, we are the only company in the category that has started cases remotely that collects the full ABO array of 8 pre-treatment photos. And it's not that easy, as an example, to get an intraoral photo from a patient at home or a patient, even that's coming into our studio without, doing a ton of work and learning how to do what that looks like. Collecting additional diagnostic records like we do in our studios or in our studio and office within a dental practice with panoramic x-rays. Other companies that are in the so-called direct-to-consumer space don't do that. We've had to meet that challenge on the diagnostic side. Then you get to treatment planning. And I think this is really where Candid has stood out. Is, our doctor started, and we first talked about the idea of moving the quote unquote social six, which is moving those anterior teeth that you can see and just aligning somebody's smile in a really simple case. But if you were to look through the cases that, our doctors have done over these 60,000, you would see that we started with pretty simple class 1, easy corrections, but there are cases in there, class 2, even up to class 3, where the severity and what we figured out how to do remotely is incredible. And that's without attachments, without IPR, and without extractions. And so if you look at the Candid manufactured aligners and the Candid treatment plans today, we do things in a unique and what I would say uniform way to help patients straighten their teeth without the addition of attachments and IPR and extractions. And we're continuing to increase the case complexity where, again, we're the only company that does case starts remotely that really does move molars, right? We're doing sequential distalization. We're doing expansion. We're doing things that people didn't think were possible with remote care. And what we're now doing, and I'm really excited to talk more about this later on in the show, is we're bringing that into the professional practice with Candid Pro. And so we're taking all of the learnings that we've had had in the model that we have, which has a 15% refinement rate. And if you were to talk to an orthodontist and ask them, what does the refinement and mid-course correction look like with Invisalign, they'd probably say 70, 80, 90% because they have the luxury of seeing that patient in person over and over again and taking a new scan. With Candid, we had to figure out how do we minimize mid-course corrections and refinements and create a uniform prescription or Candid RX to deliver the result. The last thing that we're doing, which I'm really excited about, we launched just over a year ago, is the Candid App. So the Candid App is the top rated app in dental, 4.9 out of 5 stars, over 1,000 reviews. The Candid App enables you to monitor, as a doctor, patients remotely, and it takes the best components of dental monitoring with in-app live chat support and with a Candid concierge team in Columbus, Ohio. So we're able to provide patients with 7 days a week live chat support. Doctors are able to see with telehealth, see their patients every 14 days with remote scans. And now we can actually use cutting edge. And it's funny to say this because you don't think about people don't think about dental as the first place where this is really happening, but just like 3D printing is the number one use case is dental, interventional medicine, and what we're doing with our Candid app, we're actually intervening on behalf of the doctors who are then seeing the patients and able to move them through treatment or tell them, hey, you need to wear your aligner for an extra week. And so there are all these things that where Candid started at the beginning as a direct-to-consumer company. Candid has evolved as a platform, as an ecosystem, not just to start patients at home or in a Candid studio, but actually in a dental practice, and also providing robust diagnostics, treatment planning, and oversight on behalf of the Candid Orthodontist Network.
Is DTC, direct to consumer, and B2C, business to consumer, are those interchangeable terms, or is there, or not really?
We view what Candid does today certainly not as, I would call it pure direct to consumer, because for every Candid patient, we have an orthodontist certified in that state who is not only treatment planning, but actually overseeing that patient's case. And so in the term direct to consumer, I think in this case, especially with seeing the patient every 2 weeks, using telehealth and using automation, we're able to much more easily replicate what you would have when, for example, a GP would start a case in an office and see that patient maybe every 12 weeks. And so with Candid, we're seeing you every 2 weeks as a patient. And we think that the term direct to consumer, well, maybe it's not a verboten word. It's not what we're trying to provide. We're trying to provide case starts that start either in the practice or cases that start at home. And when that happens, we want to provide a telehealth-driven solution that meets the patient where they are and meets the doctor where they are. There are doctors in our network today, and they do 100% gross margin because they sit there and they're able to do cases from Bermuda or do cases from their home in Texas or wherever they are. And they can sit there and they can do all of their cases, review all of their patients, and do all of that work digitally. And so we're enabling the doctors in the Candid network and ultimately in the Candid Pro space to be able to just make more money while doing less in-office work, and more of that work can be done remotely outside of the practice.
Okay. And there may be some kids listening that didn't see. I did podcasts with some of your other legends, like Billy Zolden. She was show 1587, and my buddy Chester Lynn Hurst 1301.
The Michael Jordan of orthodontics, as he called himself on the show.
Everything's bigger in Texas, Explain what Candid is, because if you're listening to the first time, you might be wondering, you go to your website, you see store locations, but then telehealth. Well, explain to someone this is the first time they heard Candid, what it is and what you do.
So at Candid, we're building an oral healthcare platform, starting with orthodontics. So what we want to do is meet the patient where that patient wants to start their case. So today we offer our Candid Pro Platform, where a patient can come in, see their dentist, and get aligners through that dental professional. We also have the Candid Studio and store and office model, where Candid actually manages and runs Candid Studio locations on behalf of our network of orthodontists who then start those cases entirely remotely, where they're able to review diagnostic records, including the ABO array of 8 photos and a panoramic X-ray, treatment plan, and oversee that case without needing to see that patient directly in person, but getting all those records and operating that on their computer at home. And Candid also has an e-commerce model where patients who are in rural areas or can't make it into a studio can start their journey at home with that same level of treatment planning and oversight that they get from their Candid network orthodontist.
So Candid Pro Platform is when you go to your orthodontist and use Candid.
So the Candid Pro Platform, brand new. We're really excited about it. We kicked it off in December. It's just getting going. And the Candid Pro Platform is designed for both a GP and an orthodontist, but I would say today really has elements, depending on who you are, that fit both of those. And the idea behind the Candid Pro Platform is to take all of the learnings and the technology and the software and the innovation that we've done on the treatment planning and the patient management side and bring that into a professional practice. And so what we've seen is that 10% of GPs in general do almost all of the clear aligner cases that are outside of the orthodontic practice. So that remaining 90%. And I heard you talking when you talked to Dr. Zoldan about this as a thing. When you go through dental school, you don't do that much work in orthodontics. And so there's a lot to learn in the clear aligner space. And having talked to many, many dentists, what we've learned is that the dentists we've talked to who are not doing clear aligners either don't feel comfortable selling the clear aligners or they don't feel comfortable treatment planning and managing oversight. And so what we do is bring a Candid orthodontist as your partner to oversee and maintain and monitor that treatment on behalf of you as a dentist. They're still your patient, and then you can charge whatever you want in that practice. And what we see is generally the Candid Partner Dentist Network, what they're really doing is they're bringing their price down to compete with a Candid. So if our Candid average studio price is $2,400, we're seeing dentists offering the product between $3,000 and $3,500. And then they're doing all of that case management work remotely and taking advantage of the orthodontist network, the Candid app, and the concierge that we provide in Columbus, Ohio. And so taking that as a strategy, our view is that clear aligners are dramatically underpenetrated in the dental professional space. Today, you have orthodontists doing about 60% of the cases, dentists doing about 40%, but that 90% of GP dentists who don't really do more than 5 or 10 cases a year. We want to provide a solution to them to make them feel comfortable that there's an orthodontist in the background who can help them manage that case. They can sell that case at a price that's competitive with the quote direct to consumer companies. So they can take more of that volume and they can maintain and have that patient so they can really change the complexion of the P&L of their practice.
So the stats you just gave in that last paragraph, orthodontists do what percent of the cases?
So approximately 60% of the clear aligner case starts are done today in an orthodontist office, and about 40% are done in the GP practices.
So orthodontists do 60% of the clear aligner cases, and general dentists do the other 40%?
It's about 40%, yep.
And
but of those, but what's really interesting is of that 40%, about 10% of those GPs are doing 70, 80, 90% of those case starts. And so there's a really huge long tail of opportunity for the GP to do clear aligners, because if you have a book of business, 1,500, 2,000 patients, many of those folks want to straighten their teeth, right? We know that one of the biggest kind of questions that people will ask in the practice, or questions that they're just going to look, and one of the reasons why we have an exciting business in the doctor-directed at-home model is because there's a huge component of patients who just want to do clear aligners and they want to straighten their teeth, but they feel uncomfortable paying $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. And so what we want to do is help that GP who already has that patient start the case in their practice.
And what percent of your company is US driven? I mean,
100%.
100%, because orthodontists, there's 208 countries, and dental specialties in most countries isn't like the United States. Like dentistry started in Paris, France. France only has 3 specialties. America's got 12. Half the countries I've been to don't have any specialties. So, but what about Canada? Are you
We're not in Canada. We're 100% today, 100% in the US, 100% of the product is manufactured today in the US. But we hope in the next couple of years we'll go international, but this is a big enough market for us, at least today.
I would never go to Canada. I would say either. I mean, any country where their dentists like hockey, where they just sit there and knock people's teeth out. If you ever sat at the front row of a Phoenix hockey game, my God, there's no teeth in that whole arena. My gosh. So, do you think orthodontics is the fastest growing space? Next is implants, and I mean, no disrespect at all to you or anybody or any orthodontist, but my God, a lot more can go wrong when you're doing a sinus lift, placing an implant, and bone grafting. And I mean, sometimes I'll go to wash my hands, there's blood on my head. So I mean, it seems like if this is the fastest growing space and you don't have all the things that can go wrong with blood and gut surgery, I would think that these graduating classes in 2 months, we're going to let out another 6,000 dental graduates, and they got $400,000 student loans. And orthodontics is the most important, because I know a lot of orthodontists do not appreciate my thoughts on this, but the number one goal of a species is to attract another species and mate and reproduce and make a baby that's still standing when you're dead. And you see it with peacocks, and you see it with butterflies and ducks and mallards. And my gosh, they just want to look as pretty as a peacock, so they can catch another primate to mix gametes with. And it's the most important thing to do. I looked at discretionary income when I was lecturing in China. 40% of women who work all day in a Chinese factory, 40% of their discretionary income goes to makeup, pantyhose, perfume, all the things that make her just look rockin' hot. So this is going to be the biggest part of dentistry forever, because, I mean, look at America. A third of the people are obese. We don't have a chewing problem. No one's walking around saying, these Americans, look, they can't eat. There's only 60,000 food items at Walmart. It's not about eating. It's about attracting a mate and looking as good as you can. The other thing is, when I was little, there were 7 kids in my family. And when I grew up I was born in 62. I mean, only the ugliest kid who would never attract a mate got the braces. I mean, so if you're some big old family, it was the one who looked like she could eat a ham sandwich to a chain link fence. Now with smaller families, everybody's getting it when they're kids, and then they get it again after their first divorce as they're getting fixed back up to go on the market. And I have a patient that got it at 65. When she retired, she was too embarrassed to have braces while she was working and being old, and she thought that looked ridiculous. And as soon as she retired, moved to Phoenix, Arizona, first thing she wanted was braces. She wanted them her whole life. So this is so what would you tell these young kids who didn't do a single orthodontic case in school? Because the one thing the orthodontists have done is kept all orthodontic education out of all the schools. The endodontists will teach you root canals. The oral surgeons will teach you how to pull teeth. Every specialty helps you except the business-minded orthodontists, who keep all the ortho education to craniofacial growth and development, what's happening in an embryo and a fetus, So these 6,000 graduates who walk out with $400,000 student loans that see ortho's the fastest growing, what advice would you have for them to learn your system?
Look, I think what you just said hits all the nails on all the heads, right? It's exactly what's happening. If you look, as an example, as you look at when people get extra credit in this country, the first thing it goes to is home equity. The second thing is orthodontics. And just people want to straighten their teeth, because we as a community, as a culture, it's becoming more and more important. It's the first thing people notice about you. And so if you're graduating dental school today with $400,000 in student debt, clear aligners is the only opportunity. And we believe that Candid Pro is a system. If you don't have the training and want to learn how to do clear aligners, but have the oversight and the partnership of an orthodontist, we think the Candid Pro is the right model to go. We think you can easily take a book of 1,500 to 2,000 patients. 30% of them, based on our research, want to straighten their teeth. And so if you can sell even 10% of that 30%, you're talking about adding, nearly $100,000 in incremental revenue onto your practice, right? You're going to pay down your student loans twice as fast. And so you take that as a strategy. We don't think you should go and just immediately go into a system. And because you're going, if you do that and you don't have the training, there's a reason there's multi-year residency programs for orthodontists. We believe there's entirely incremental opportunities that sit on top of what the ortho is doing today. Those ortho cases, right? About 75% of them, depending on the practice, are teen cases. But you have the entire adult population who either didn't have braces growing up or didn't wear their retainer, more likely, who want to do clear aligners, but you need to have a price point that makes sense, which is why you see businesses like Smile Direct Club at monthly payments, in the range of $2,300, $2,400, Bite at $2,700, Candid, which has a 0% APR, 0% down option at $2,400. You look at those options across the board, and the reason consumers are choosing those is affordability and accessibility. But I'll tell you the secret that nobody really knows about Candid. 100 people visit my website, 1 will buy an aligner, which means that 99 people are not buying clear aligners today from Candid. And we surveyed them. Where are they going? What do they want? Well, 80% of those people want to start in the dental practice. But none of them are going to an orthodontist because they don't view it as, oh, I want to go to a specialist. I want to do tons of office visits. They want the Candid solution. It's why they came to our site. It's why they explore our site. But they want the oversight of a dental professional in the practice, which is why we launched Candid Pro. We want to enable doctors to give the product that we've built, which is a product that patients love, but we want to allow them to sell that in their practice and maximize their revenue and really maximize their revenue per chair hour. Because the other beautiful thing about ortho is that if you do it right, and especially with Candid Pro, you can do 1, 2, 3 office visits over a 7-month case, and you can charge $3,500, $4,000, $3,000. And so your revenue per chair hour, especially when you think about it, having your scan done by an assistant or hygienist and coming in and really having the treatment planning done remotely by an orthodontist, is astronomical compared to other procedures in dental.
So where are my homies supposed to learn how to do this? I know you use Michelle Shimon at Washington. Love her. You should have her come on the show. But I'm a logistics guy. You got a dentist, and he doesn't know how to do this. So there's demand for it. You have a big technology platform where a lot of this, it's just a lot easier to do a lot of things than back in the day. Like when I got out of school in '87, root canals, you had to hand file. You had to hold on to this thing with your little finger. I had a blister on my finger and thumb for 5 years. I mean, that's just all you did. And then they came out with rotary endo that, I don't care what anybody says, it's 10 times easier to do a root canal today than it was 30 years ago. And I think it's easier to do orthodontics today than it was 30 years ago. Do you agree with that?
I completely agree. Right?
But here's the deal. If you're in Arizona, you don't need any root canal courses, because if any dentist says to you, I want to take an endo course, what do you recommend? They go, well, call Jason Hell. He's an endodontist. He's swamped all day. He'll let you sit on a chair next to him. Brad Gettleman, I drive an hour to Glendale. When I had a root canal, I can go watch any oral surgeon or periodontist or endodontist, but the orthodontists aren't going to sit there and say, yeah, I'll teach you how to do ortho. Come on down. Call me crazy. But like I say, all the specialists do it. Except the orthodontist. Not only, they just do not do that. They have no desire to teach their competitors how to compete against them. So how does my homie learn how to use Candid?
So the first is they told me not to do this, but I would love to meet you. And so if you're interested, please email me, nick@candidco.com. And I would love to kind of interface, hear about you and what you're trying to build. You can also visit our website at candidco.com /candid-professional. I'll say that one more time, candidco.com/candid-professional. And you can book a time to speak with our Chief Clinical Officer, Dr. Hurst. The heretical Dr. Hurst, in many ways, in creating a system that is replicable and that he wants to teach all of the dental professional colleagues that we're talking about working with here in Candid Pro. Maybe that is a bit heretical, but I think what he's figured out is how to build a system specifically for cases that maybe aren't going to orthodontists today. We don't think that Candid in any way, shape, or form is going to replace the orthodontist. And we think, in fact, it's going to enhance what orthodontic practices are. The opportunity we're going after today is this massive long tail of patients who are visiting my site, and 80% of them are never going to buy from Candid. They want to buy through their dentist, and they want to buy through that practice. And so our view is this is entirely expansionary from a market standpoint, and it's not taking cases away from the ortho, but we will through the Candid Doctor Network, through our Chief Clinical Officer, Dr. Hurst, he's expressed interest in building like a Candid residency equivalent type education program. We want to help this group of folks who are out there who do not necessarily know how to do ortho yet. We want to help them start cases in their practice because we believe that this is the future and this is the way that it's going to go. And we've created the streamlined Candid RX to make that happen.
And I just want to say one thing, and that is, economics started in 1776, the same year as our Constitution, with Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations, that ended mercantile economics, and he figured out value added. And it's not a zero-sum game. When you got 8 billion people, for an orthodontist to think, well, if Howard does an ortho case, I'll lose one. Well, what are we supposed to throw away 200 years of economics? That's not how it works. What they should be doing is saying, how can we grow the pie? I mean, if you're only eating a small pizza, and I'm only eating a small pizza, why don't we figure out how we can split an extra large pizza where each half is bigger? And orthodontists should do more about growing the pie, not about how it's divvying it up. The world is not a zero-sum game. There are 8 billion people, and like you say, 99 of 100 people that go to your site don't even get completed. So, and number two, if we've learned anything in economics in the last 300 years, that you need to have competition. Germany's the best at it. Germany, my God, it's not about anti-competitive. Germany doesn't go after you because you made too much money or got too big. The German government will go after you if they don't think you're scared and really competing with someone hard, then they'll break you up. They want to see, it's like when you watch the NFL, no one wants to watch Cleveland play. I mean, you want to watch a real team play. You want to see
the Cardinals.
Yes, and you want to see them demolish the Dallas Cowboys while you're with Lynn from Texas. But so competition is good. That's why I'm a member of the ADA and the AGD. I'll be a member of anybody that's competing and fighting for dentistry. So economics is not zero sum. It's not general dentist gets the case, orthodontists lose it. It's about we need a lot of competition to make everything grow the pie, and you're only going to do that if everything's faster, better, easier, higher quality, lower price. And there's a lot of technology in your platform. But now I'm going to ask the most real question, the consumer's eyes, is orthodontics has always been extremely expensive. How is your business model? I mean, like I tell everybody, you got to win with a full hand, and it's faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost, and smaller. The steam engine was so big, it could only pump water out of flooded coal mines, but as it got smaller and smaller, it eventually fit on a ship. It got getting so small, it fit on a train. So smaller is important too, but price is the king. Is your company going to do anything to make orthodontics more affordable?
One of the things that got me into this industry in 2017 was looking at a product that costs all in, call it $300 to make, which is the cost of Invisalign's product, right? And they sell, their gross margins are public. Everything about their business is public. And the end consumer where I live in New York, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. So that to me just screams massive markups all along the chain. And there's a reason for those markups. You have to pay for real estate. You have to pay for the dental assistants and the hygienists in your practice. You have to pay for all these different things that exist. And so if you talk to a doctor, they'll tell you, we can't make money selling this product for less than $4,000 or $4,500 because you have 15 office visits. You have to account for support. You have to account for refinements and mid-course corrections. There are all these things that go into the clear aligner systems that exist today, which is why to the consumer, they're $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, and why most of the growth that we're seeing today in the ortho practice is cannibalistic in clear aligners, where clear aligners are taking share of chair from wire brackets. The Candid view is, hey, how do we bring that price down? And how do we bring those monthly payments down for a consumer? Where now today with Candid, you can start and pay over 36 months, or you can pay 0% APR and 0% down over 12 months. How do we do things that enable these patients to get access to care in a way that they never could have before? And that does start with price. The second is accessibility. Our patients, when we survey them, have no interest in doing 12, 15, 20 office visits. Maybe they'll do 1 or 2 or 4. And Candid Pro is geared around, hey, how do we set up a system that minimizes office visits, improves accessibility, improves overall practice profitability by removing those visits, but also develops the telehealth platform that a doctor needs to be successful in their practice. And so if you look at our MSRP for our product in the doctor-directed at-home channel, it's $2,400, but has monthly payments, which are important. But the important thing for a doctor to think about is if you can go from $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000, if you can bring your price down to $3,000 or $3,500, all of a sudden we know that patients are willing to pay $500 to $1,000 more in the practice than they are from buying from a Candid directly. And so what we want to do is take that model and apply that to the professional space, where we can offer a solution that removes the office hours, removes the chair time, value for the patient and the doctor, removes the cost, and pass those cost savings on to patients. So instead of having that conversation and having a 5% or 10% conversion rate in your practice, you can have a 30% or 40% conversion rate in your practice when you have those conversations. And all of a sudden that gets you more confidence to have that hard convo. But this isn't just a GP product. The other thing that I think we're talking about ortho versus GP, one thing I want to clarify is we have many orthos who are now signing up for Candid Pro, because what happens is they bring their kids in for a $5,000 treatment, and they don't want to pay $5,000, but it's entirely incremental revenue for that parent to add on a $3,500 or $3,000 treatment where they can do most of it remotely. And they can bring their kids in when they're ready to come in, but they can do their clear aligners remotely. And so we see orthos actually adding Candid Pro on as an additional add-on to their existing clear aligner solutions in their practices.
So I'm on your site, Candid Pro. Are you going to have are you going to get Lynn? I mean, you know, Lynn's lazy, right? I mean,
that guy works harder than anybody I know.
Well, then where's his online curriculum on Dental Town of teaching you how to do this?
We can make that happen. We can. Michelle Shimon and Dr. Hurst are ready, willing, and able to come on.
Well, let's do this because again, these kids come out of school $400,000 in debt while they're teachers. There's 2 dental schools in my backyard. And the teachers, they're not in food lines looking for food stamps. And these kids come out and they've got to have the tools to pay that back. And as someone who's old, I got my 4 boys have turned into 6 grandchildren. And I know as soon as one of them has a baby, I'm dead. And so the important thing for the old people do is to help the young kids coming out. So as I'm getting ready to leave, they're getting ready to come out. They need the tools. They don't have any tools to do this. They don't know how to do this. I think I'm an operational logistics guy. I think Michelle and Lynn should create a course or however many it takes, because a dentist could have a staff meeting, and the staff meetings are great when all the dentist has to do is go buy some pizza or some sandwiches or whatever. And then that's why we have all of our online CEs an hour. And then the staff could play an hour. And there she is. There's Michelle and, coaching, teaching the staff how to get this off the ground. And then you got an orthodontist teaching me how to do this. And then your technology has a lot of support and will help them, right? I mean,
but the beauty is with Candid Pro, you don't need to know how to do ortho because the orthodontist is there every step of the way with you to help show you what the treatment plan looks like, why the decisions are being made the way they are, and allowing you to create ultimately a treatment plan for your patients in a replicable way such that you can sell the case in your practice, but know there's an orthodontist in the background who's actually there to help provide you support. And so our goal, exactly what you just described, is exactly what we want to do, which is the folks who have $100,000 plus in student debt that are out there trying to figure out how are they going to make it. And they're working, as an associate dentist at a DSO, and they're making $150,000 a year, but they're living in a city where it's really expensive to live, and they're looking for that. Hey, how can I get an extra $100,000 a year in revenue? This is why we built the solution, is because we want the dental professional to crush our doctor-directed at-home business, because we make it so good and it's so easy to sell that doctors feel comfortable and see the results, the patient outcomes that we can demonstrate, and Dr. Hurst can show you exactly what those look like on why this is a superior system to not offering clear aligners at all in your practice, because there's a lot of revenue and there's a lot of opportunity to be had. The consumer wants it, the patient wants it, the doctor wants it, and Candid is the system that puts it all together.
So you have, you were talking about, you had 3 models. I'm trying to find my notes up here. So you have one model where, the Candid Pro, where they go to the orthodontist or the dental. By the way, you call them DPs. I've never seen that before. Dental practitioners,
dental professionals. We use it to encompass the hygienist, the hygienist and the dentist and the GP together, kind of as a broader term.
So does a dental professional include the orthodontist?
It does.
Huh? Because I'm surprised they'd want to be included. Because if you're ever at a bar and you're drinking and the waitress says, "Are you all dentists?" The orthodontist says, "No, I'm not. I'm an orthodontist." And we're always like, "I thought you went to dental school. Dude, you went to UMKC dental school. In fact, I was your classmate. I'm pretty sure you're a dentist." No. I went to ortho school afterwards, so I'm no longer a dentist.
I work with a lot of orthodontists, and they're very lovely people.
They are lovely people, but they're better businessmen. They're better businessmen, and you got to hand it to them. The AAO has 95% membership. 95%. The ADA is down to 65%, and that's only including everyone retired and has one foot in the grave. And the AMA, the American Medical Association, they're down to like 10%. And the reason the AAO can keep 95% of their people in line is because they'll fight anybody, including the ADA, for anything. I mean, they're kind of like the Jimmy Hoffa of dental specialties. They fight hard, and they got 95% membership. But you're either an orthodontist or you're not. And I say that I own OrthoTown. I own the OrthoTown magazine. I'm not even allowed to post on my own site. I get it, and it's cool. It's just a different tribe. But what I'm worried about is the kids. That's what I'm not worried about orthodontists and endodontists and pediatric dentists. I'm worried about 6,500 kids coming out at 25 years old, damn near $500,000 in debt, and don't have the tools to compete. And I see competition as when everybody's training to fight hard for a lot of competition and to grow the industry. I mean, look at Americans. You give them a stimulus check. They'd rather go to the casino and gamble on GameStop than go get their blood pressure checked, or so they're gonna the crazy humans are gonna spend all their money. I always think it's healthcare's job. Well, it's better if you spend your money at the doctor than it is the casino. I think and plus when I've noticed for 3 decades that when their teeth get straighter and whiter, you're either into your teeth or you're not. It's kind of like you either have never bowled one time in the last 10 years, or you own your own bowling ball. Out here in Arizona, there's 4 big lakes up the river. You either own your own boat and go there every other weekend, or you have never been there once or not once. So it's all in or all out. And what I love the most about cosmetic dentistry, ortho, bleaching, bonding, veneers, is as soon as that little kid wants to look at his teeth and he starts a relationship with his mouth, he takes care of it. He'll brush and floss. If he likes what he sees, he needs to fall in love with his teeth and his smile and his oral health, and it's a big part of healthcare. And I want these kids to learn it, and I don't know how they're supposed to come out of dental school and learn how to do this system. I mean, I'm on your website. I don't see the courses. Lynn needs to have these courses. Michelle needs to do that. I think that would be really, really great. And then if more GPs, and by the way, let's talk about another thing about specialists. Specialists always talk about specialists. They don't talk about the fact that there's two Americas. Half the population lives in the big cities where you have all 12 specialties, and the other half live in the rural, and there's none. I mean, when I go to my grandkids' house, I mean, it's 3G for my phone. I mean, they don't even have internet connection. In fact, my grandkids couldn't even do on the internet what they could if they lived in Manhattan. And so there's no specialist. There's not one specialist. I think the number is there are 12,000 towns in America that don't have one of the 12 specialties recognized by the ADA. So if you come out of school and you taught the kids, well, you know what? If they want to need an implant, you should send them to an oral surgeon. All right, genius. Tell me what happens if there's no oral surgeon? And then, so I'm just... that's the way I think. I like competition. I like the consumer. And if you're not playing with a full hand to make what you're doing faster, easier, higher quality, lower price, and smaller, all you are is noise until someone with the full hand will run you over from behind and you'll never even see it coming. So keep one eye on your customer and one eye on costs until you give them the freedom to afford oral health. And that's why we do what we do. So, my gosh, I'm so excited about this whole business. I mean, it seems to, even when it was in the news, Smiles Direct Club and all that deals and all that, it's one big advertisement for dentistry lifting the whole boat. But as far as your own stores, that would seem like a lot more investment, a lot more management, a lot more headaches for you. You're the CEO. I would imagine your own Candid stores are the least favorite part of your business, or did I get that wrong?
I actually think the studios provide real value in specific geographic areas because there are cities like New York where there's just so many people that want to come through and get a scan and buy aligners. But the studios are not a model that works across those 12,000 towns that don't have any of the specialties, or I believe it's 60% of counties based on the ATDA survey don't have an orthodontist in them. So
60% of counties
don't have an orthodontist.
And where did you find that stat?
The American Teledentistry Association. So there are so many of these moments where we need to create access. One of the things that we've started doing with Candid, and you can see this on our site actually, is we've started replacing some of our studio locations with partner dental practices. And so what we'll do is we'll actually go to a dentist who has extra space, or if the dentist has, 2 or 3 locations, and we'll rent a chair or two, and we'll drive patients there, we'll do scans, and then we'll actually refer that patient and generate extra revenue for that dentist. Depending on geographically where they are. And so we have 2 models now that we work with work with the GP. We offer the model where we rent a chair, and we also offer the Candid Professional model where they can sell the aligners themselves. And I think the Candid Pro model, look, I was at the Uber Lyft early days, 2012, 2013. And one of the things, to your point about the 5, the 5 core tenets there, Uber had this Uber Black service. And with Uber Black, they were charging 6 times the cost of a taxi, or 3 times the cost of a taxi. And when we launched Lyft, they also had Uber X. And Uber X, they brought the price down. And the more they brought the price down, the more demand increased. And so it went from a market where you were looking at the entire US taxi market in 2012 was $9 billion. The Uber Lyft revenue today, combined with taxis, is gotta be in the US probably 3 times that today, because the market just increased dramatically. And so what we're trying to do in the dental office is exactly that. It's to make it more convenient, to make it faster, to make it better, to drive great clinical outcomes, and to bring the price down for doctors by taking a lot of the time required out of orthodontics.
So A lot of dentists, and I'm just telling you what my homies, I hear them say this, a lot of dentists believe that this whole telehealth thing, it's all a fad from the pandemic. And as soon as the vaccines are done rolling out, that fad will be gone as fast as it got here. What do you say to someone thinking like that?
Telehealth is about meeting the patient where they want to be. And I think that telehealth is a great solution for some things. But dental of all industries, you think about doing an implant, you can't do an implant with telehealth, right? So there are things that you can and can't do. The beauty of Candid and what we view, at least in the clear aligner space, is you can monitor that case remotely. Right? You can actually track that patient and use digital health to intervene when something is going wrong. And you can track and see where it's going. Even better, right? We're doing office visits every 2 weeks remotely with telehealth. And so I think there is a time and a place to use telehealth, especially in your practice, to just be more profitable, right? Like if you use telehealth appropriately, you can see more patients, and then you can track those patients and do it remotely. And even, the dental insurance companies are now starting to accept telehealth and billing codes. And if you can figure out how to put telehealth into your practice, it's just going to make your practice more efficient. And so I don't think telehealth as a thing is going away, but I think how it's applied and how it's used will continue to change. One of the biggest knocks on Candid is, oh, you can't do these types of cases, or it doesn't work. And I think that we've figured out how to answer the call on that by showing the results, by showing the cases that Candid doctors have planned and treated over time. And we're really excited to put that out there in the world and show that that's the case, because I think there's a big knock that telehealth doesn't work to actually solve real patient pain points. But we have shown, especially over the last year, that you can make telehealth an incredibly important part of your practice to just help you be more profitable, grow faster, see more patients, and improve accessibility.
Yeah, and I want to remind dentists, because a lot of dentists think that I'm just supposed to sit here and just blindly support whatever the hell dentists do because I'm on your team. Well, that's insane. Life is complex. And I have been noticing so much chatter about universal health coverage. Bernie Sanders in the news this week that Medicare should cover dentistry, and a lot of dentists think, well, the government already has how many million employees does the government have? They have like 14 million employees, and Walmart is the number one private with 1.8 million. But man, when 40% of Americans don't have dental insurance, when 60% of U.S. counties lack an orthodontic office, governments step in where markets fail. So all I want to remind you is that I don't care how good it is for the doctor, the dentist, the orthodontist. If it's ever decided in the public courts that they're losing and that this market has failed, the government will step in every damn time. So for you people who want smaller government and more free enterprise, well, then why aren't you doing everything to make it faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost? And if 60% of the small towns don't have an orthodontist, and here's a telehealth dentistry solution, why aren't you rolling it out as fast as you can? Because if you don't roll it out, I know who's going to come roll it out for you. And that is just the reason I don't like that is just because the government has never been great at operational logistics of running something. Like here's Nick, an amazing CEO of the highest caliber. And, if he ran his own Candid bars, which he's basically, everything he said sounds just like an Apple Genius bar, where Steve Jobs had the same thing. It's like, this isn't how we plan on selling all of our iPhones. I never bought an iPhone at an Apple Genius bar, but it did everything for marketing, the brand, positioning, bringing it out to public mind. You got to get the patient's mind share before you can get them to open their wallet and their purse and spend some money. So, by the way, I always remember you first as Candid Co., and now it seems to be just Candid. Did you drop the Co.?
We've evolved. We dropped the co. It's still in our URL, but we've dropped the co from our brand.
Would you agree that your stores are the Apple Genius Bar?
That's the goal, and they're designed to be that way. They're designed to be, specifically located in just a handful of markets, super accessible, consultative, process. But that's not how we plan on scaling our business long term. The scale plan for Candid is partner with dentists, whether through the store and office model where we have a location inside your practice and help refer patients to you, or through the Candid professional model. That's where we're going as a business. And we want the Candid professional model to eat the rest of the business. And we want to train as many dentists as we can and get as many dentists on board and selling this product as fast as we can as possible. And the challenge there is it takes a while and we've got to get out into the network. And so we're starting to do that. We started at the beginning of this year, end of last year. But I think it's going to take a while to get there. Just like, the iPod was the first product, and I don't think anybody has an iPod anymore, but they've continued at Apple to evolve their product and evolve their retail strategy. And I think Candid, where we can aspire to be like Apple, we're a long way away. There's a lot of things to take from those lessons around go-to-market strategy.
And by the way, I love telehealth more than anything. My 82-year-old mother, now she just does her doctor's appointment on the iPad most of the time. And the most dangerous part of her life is traveling across Wichita, Kansas to go to the doctor. And then what I love last night is one of my daughter-in-laws was having a question about her baby, which is actually my granddaughter. And she had a question. And when she telehealth a number and got talked to her pediatrician at home, which would have always meant before packing up the family to go spend 3 hours in an emergency room, exposing yourself to God knows what. And I just think it's just simply the best thing. I mean, telehealth, and it's not going to be everyone's telehealth and no one's in the flesh, but it's going to be a nice mixture. And there are times when telehealth would be amazing, and there's times when it's not, like when you need surgery or you need some procedure. Here's another interesting question is, I don't care what any orthodontist says, there's zero evidence that you're not going to be able to live and reproduce and have offspring with crooked, crowded teeth. I don't care how bad your bite is. I bet if you took everybody in America, the 100 most worst bites in America, I bet half of them are obese. I mean, so it's all beauty and crowding. But you do point out that you're not about the social six. You're about real ortho from class 1, class 2, class 3. Where do you draw the line between this is a social six, this is just to make you pretty enough to get engaged in marriage, versus you really need to have this all done in a certain way, even though there's no evidence that if you don't do it, you're going to get Alzheimer's and have a heart attack and die?
So the doctor network that does all the treatment planning for Candid, they're all orthodontists. Most of them, if not all of them, have 20 years of experience in the field. And there's a standard of quality that they want our company to adhere to. And the treatment planning and the prescription that they've designed is all around delivering a full kind of mouth solution. Because what we find, if we only do social six correction, when people do end up with bite issues, or they end up with TMJ, or they end up with, kind of alignment problems in the future, those things reflect poorly upon Candid. They reflect poorly upon the doctor, but more than anything, they reflect poorly upon our company, because when that patient goes in to their dentist or eventually goes to an orthodontist for getting treatment that wasn't really sufficient, then they're not happy. They're not satisfied. That's not why they came to us. They chose Candid because Candid is a little bit more expensive on the spectrum and from an upfront price point, because they wanted a full orthodontic solution. They wanted an orthodontist behind their case. And so our doctors are always striving to give a full orthodontic solution rather than just an easy social six. I think from a patient perspective, it's hard to understand the difference. And when you talk about bite, hey, we're going to fully align your bite. We're doing sequential distalization. We're doing arch expansion. Oh, why are my molars, why is everything moving? Why are my teeth in the back moving? I just want to straighten the front. That's a conversation that many times our team needs to have with a patient to explain on a treatment plan and what it looks like, why we're doing those things to give them a long-term healthy mouth. And while I hear you about the connections and orthodontics versus Alzheimer's, I do think there are real there are real connections and interesting developments that we'll continue to see over the next 5, 10, 15 years around things like sleep apnea and air pathway, which is all the rage, as I'm sure you know, having done many interviews with kind of that kind of cohort of folks, where having, space in your mouth for your tongue can help you breathe better, which can help you sleep better. And so I think there are a lot of benefits to orthodontics that we still don't yet understand, perhaps because the specialty hasn't let us go really deep on the science there. And I think that hopefully Candid can be the company that goes out and pioneers and figures out what are those connections between your oral health care and the rest of your body, because we all know there's a lot there, but I don't think it's been studied as much as it should have been.
And then I want to ask you the most important question of the day. Who do you like more, Michelle Shimon or Shannon Pace-Brinkner? If you had to line them up 1 and 2, which one would be 1 and which one would be 2?
No comment. Can't answer that question.
And the reason I'm focusing on them is because that's real world. Dentists use expanded function. When people say, "Well, why can't the doctor clean my teeth?" Well, we could have. The most expensive. Who would be the most expensive? We'll have Bill Gates clean your teeth. He might charge $10,000 a minute, but it just to make it faster, easier, higher quality. The hallmark of Adam Smith was specialization. He used that the analogy of was it building a pen or a pencil, or was it was a pen back then with ink, but turned into a pencil that. Every important person that made each component had no idea they were trying to build a pencil. This guy's doing oil and cutting down lumber and making rubber. And so you have all these people all around the world in different countries, religions, languages, not knowing that their end product was going to be a pencil. You know what I mean? And in dentistry, it's always about the dentist. It's never about the assistants. And if you don't get your staff involved, if you can't get Michelle Shimon and Shannon Pace-Brinkner to get your staff involved, it's not going to take place. So I think those would be 2 very important people. And I wish you'd send them both to come on the show or make CE or whatever, because again, this is something you don't have to sell. You have to sell brushing and flossing. It's like when a person comes in with high blood pressure. They don't know they have high blood pressure. They don't know their insulin's out of whack. They don't know any of this stuff. But my God, they want whiter, brighter, shinier, sexy teeth. And they're asking you for this. You're telling them they got to get their teeth cleaned every 3 months and have a deep cleaning and floss and do all these things they don't want to do. In fact, the biggest joke in our office is guy come in, he's got 17 cavities, needs 3 teeth pulled, needs 8 root canals. Sir, do you have any questions? Yeah, can you whiten my teeth today? I mean, that's all they care about. So let's just get the docs the tools to roll this out, and having those ladies do 1-hour online CE courses or lectures to get this on board, because I think you could pay off your student loans entirely just from clear aligners. I really do.
I agree. I think, look, it's also about the hygienists, right? The critical conversations when you're, doing your 45-minute cleaning and you're talking to a hygienist as a patient from that perspective, you're asking them these questions and they're asking you these questions. The question, hey, are you using an electric toothbrush? Do you use a Sonicare? Right? That question always comes from my hygienist, right? And every practice I've been to, the hygienist is always asking that. So I think it's really important to think about the practice holistically and how you can make the entire practice more efficient and take advantage of those critical conversations that happen before the dentist walks into the room.
And I'm in Arizona where the toothbrush was actually invented. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if it had been in New York where you live, it would have been the teeth brush. But in Arizona, where you only have 1 tooth, it was the toothbrush. I can't believe we flew through an hour, man. That was the fastest hour I've ever did. But I'm wondering, did you really get to talk about everything you want to talk about? Was there anything else?
I did. This has been great. We're really excited to have a product that actually speaks directly to the dentist rather than purely, in conversation with the patient and the consumer. And I'm really excited that you're excited about it and that you see the opportunity. I think if this to us is a no-brainer in terms of adding into the toolkit of a practice, and especially, a dentist who isn't doing that many clear aligner case starts yet, or, has a scanner but isn't sure, how to take advantage of it. And so we want to meet you, and we want to meet folks who are part of that, part of that ecosystem and be a part of helping disrupt our business.
And what is the scanner ecosystem? What are the pieces? Do you have any favorites of scanners or of that whole technical ecosystem?
We accept scans from every company. So all the scanners work with Candid today, at least for now. We'll see if that
even
changes.
iTero?
Even the iTero. Our studios, we actually have the iTero scanners.
I thought they were blocking that, or they were blocking 3Shape.
They're blocking 3Shape from interoperability with the Invisalign system. But we work with iTero, we work with 3Shape, we work with CareStream, we work with the Dentsply scanner and the Prime Scan, Medit. So all those scans we accept. Today we're focused on practices that either have scanners or are interested in a scanner. We have great opportunities for scanner purchasing and leasing programs for dentists that are signing up with Candid. And our view is whether you do 1 case a year or 100 cases a year, we want to work with you and help transform your practice and just transform your revenue and profit per chair hour. We think that that's the thing that we can do better than anybody else. And we think that we can help you if you don't know and don't feel comfortable with ortho. We think we can help teach you how to have that conversation and then provide you the training you need to deliver great outcomes for your patients while, scaling your business up.
So they can go to candidco.com and sign up for a scanner leasing program?
So available through our Candid professional sales team, and Brian Gainey, who just joined us, is running that team. We have some partnerships with various companies that we can provide, really, really good partnership-driven scanners. And we'd love to, if you're looking at partnering with us, again, candidco.com/candid-professional, or feel free to email me, Nick, N-I-C-K, @candidco.com. And I can put you in touch with the right people to have those conversations. We believe that, having a scanner in your practice will be transformative for your clear aligners, but it will also be transformative for everything else you're doing. And there's a lot of good options out there.
Yeah, and he's got a great video on YouTube also. So you have the Candid has a scanner leasing program. Do you think we're around the corner? Will the dentist will actually print out the tray?
We've seen some pretty cool companies in that space. Generally, what we're seeing is orthodontists are using systems that are kind of self 3D printing. In fact, a couple of the orthodontists that are in the Candid network today that are doing many cases for our patients, those doctors do their own manufacturing and treatment planning in-house. We do see some limitations there. So there's some real advantages to scale. As an example, scaled thermoforming, just you can do a better job with the plastic rather than a BioStar. So there are things that are advantageous to buy that case. And then things like Candid Pro, where if you're doing Candid Pro, you get a lot of added benefit where yes, making your own aligners can be less expensive, but it's highly time consuming. So just depending on the doctor, we see it much more, it's much more common for very simple cases and specifically for the orthodontist who really wants that handheld control.
So the 3D printing of clear aligners is more bleeding edge technology at this point than leading edge technology. Is that fair to say?
Direct 3D printing of clear aligners, I haven't seen something that works yet. 3D printing and then thermoforming and trimming around, that's how everybody today is making their aligners. And we partnered with Carbon 3D, who's very large 3D printing company. They work with many of the other large dental manufacturers, and we've partnered with them for our 3D printing, and then we've custom built various other components in our manufacturing flow.
Well, I'm glad you didn't drop out of Stanford from over Frisbee. Are you still love the Frisbee?
I still love playing. I'm semi-retired. Not quite ready to give it up, but I just play on the beach now. However, I moved to San Francisco in 2011 after college, and moved there because I could keep playing what was then kind of the almost professional. There's actually now professional ultimate frisbee, and one of our software engineering managers just signed with the New York team, and he's going to be playing with them. So we'll have a Candid employee who's also a professional athlete, and they're paying him. They started to pay people now. It's pretty crazy.
Oh, that one guy is the model from the top model guy spokesman. He just got a huge sponsor. I mean, it was $1 million sponsor. Did you see that?
I didn't. No, I need to check that out.
Yeah, it was either in the Economist or the Financial Times. They couldn't believe it. I mean, this guy got like a $10 million advertising deal. But just to check in real quick, New York City is the largest city in America. It's just a beacon of all things North America. It was really hit hard by this pandemic in a big major way, because you have all those airplanes flying in from every corner of the world. Most people don't fly straight from Tokyo to Kansas. A lot of people are wondering if it'll snap back from this. You always see articles, people standing in like Times Square, and there's not even 20 people out there. Do you think New York will get back to pre-pandemic levels, or do you think this was a game changer and it will never be the same?
I think it will be a few years. What we're seeing with our employees is an example, and I think it's a really nice subsection of kind of the workforce, is we're seeing that most of our employees want to come back to New York, but they only want to work from the office 1, 2, 3 days a week. And we're seeing that across lots of other offices. There's nothing that's kind of more predictive of whether New York's going to come back than whether the people are going to come back and work in the big office buildings that we've built all around the city. And so I think that we'll get there. I think the first test is July. I think Labor Day, many more people are starting to think about coming back. And I think tourism, most importantly, will come back in New York. I think that we will see international travel. I think we will see domestic travel. And so much of the economy here, the jobs are powered by the tourism that happens in New York. And so I think that probably by the end of this year, I would expect that many companies will be back to some extent, that the tourism will be back for the most part. But I think it's going to take a year or two for the real return of New York. But I think New York will be back.
So do you think, November, this is right now, this is the end of April, we're almost into May. Do you think November 25th to the 30th that the Greater New York Dental Meeting is really going to be a thing and be live?
Absolutely. Yes.
Really?
I do.
Absolutely. And do you think to increase tourism, that is why we're now reading the newspaper that New York will no longer prosecute prostitution or marijuana? Is that just in time for the Greater New York Dental Meeting, or was that a separate event?
I think it's a tax revenue thing, just like sports gambling, to throw in that one as well. I think New York was hit really hard. They're trying to raise taxes on everything. They're trying to get more tax revenue with new sources. So I think that, there was some pressure there, and this was the time where we realized that it's a good opportunity to increase the tax base.
Well, that was the first lecture I ever gave. It was August 4th, 1990, and the only reason I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, where the tallest building was a grain silo, and I went and lectured in Manhattan, and I can still remember, I'll never forget it, talking to Craig Sagan. He's a dentist classmate of mine, and he was going with me, and he's from, we're small town boys, and all of a sudden I looked out the window, and I couldn't tell for sure what I was looking at until I realized that was the skyline of New York City, and my heart stopped. I felt like a Star Wars movie. I couldn't believe it. And then the other thing that's so weird the whole life is that, when you fly out of most cities like San Fran or Seattle, the first hour you fly, you look at the window, there's nothing there. And you see a town every hour or something. When you leave New York, there's a 50 million megapolis between Boston and D.C., and it's just amazing how an hour after takeoff, you're still seeing all those lights. That is just the coolest damn place in the world. And man, God, I'd rather lose, an entire state to fall off the ocean and lose that city. That is truly the coolest city in North America.
If you come between the 25th and the 30th, I don't know if last time you were here, but they've built an entirely new city over by the Javits Center with Hudson Yards. I mean, it's incredible how much, especially during the pandemic, how much construction was completed. There are a dozen plus new skyscrapers, new malls, new buildings, just a totally new city that lives over there. It's amazing just how much, even though, you know, we felt like everything in New York was shut down, how much progress in the subway, all these things that needed to get done from an infrastructure standpoint over the last 10, 20 years got done in the last year because the city was cleared out.
Well, that's awesome. And again, my suggestion to you is get these boys on your own site, Candid.com, or on Dental Town platform, but get Shannon and get those ladies to, I think they should make a course for the staff to get this going. It just operates logistics. And the dentist, Lynn, tell them that Howard said on the show to get that lazy, no good Dallas Cowboys fan to turn off the TV and make some courses, because these dental students, like say in 2 months, we got another 6,000 kids that have no training in this, and let's get them the tools they need so they can offer clear aligners.
Let's do it.
All right, buddy.
Good. I will. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.